Greetings, all. This is DM Kurt, and this is a video response to Scott Garibay um, regarding whether or not Wizards of the Coast honors Gary Gygax with 5th edition. You stated that it does, that Wizards honors Gary and respects him and carries forth his traditions. Um, Condor DM, Decado 1628, and others said their piece. Um, Decado 1628 said that first and second edition would be what you would play if you wanted to honor Gary Gygax. I'm going to break this down. I believe that I agree with you on some parts and disagree on others. Now, over some of your videos, Scott, you put out some pieces of evidence for your case. One, that Gary would not want D&D to stagnate. I fully agree with that. I think that if Gary were alive and still owned D&D to this day, it would have undergone some changes, some new additions, etc. over time. Totally. Um, as one of, I think that's more of a marketing decision rather than a sentimental one. Wizards is a corporation; they exist to make a profit, and it's not sentiment, it's not honor, it's just the dollar. Not that there's anything wrong with that; it's just the way it is. But yes, Gary would have evolved it over the years too. Uh, they make a lot of money in D&D's name, using D&D's name. I don't think that's necessarily case for they're honoring the name, just the fact that they're using it. It's good that it continues. It's good the game continues. I think it's been a great hobby for a lot of people over the years and to this day and going forward. But they're using the name because of the name recognition. They're using the name as corporate marketing, which again is fine. But I think the closest similarities would be McDonald's and KFC. Now, Ray Kroc used the McDonald's name not because he wanted to honor the McDonald's, but because he felt that Kroc burgers wouldn't sell as well as McDonald's burgers. It's just using the name. And KFC kept using the Colonel after the Colonel sold his rights, and it was basically shut up, smile, and hold the bucket. And that was just it. Here, you took the money, you're gonna hold the bucket until you die. Then we're gonna just use likenesses of you. That's in the contract. One piece of evidence that you didn't bring up, but could be used to support your side, would be the use of Morden Kanan's name, the character's likeness, and the Astral Dreadnought from 1E Manual of the Planes onto the new Morden Kanan's Guide to Monsters of the Multiverse, or whatever it's called. I think that does carry forth. So it's a serious positive callback to the old books and the old characters. So that's cool. You didn't make that point, but if you did, I'd agree that that was a positive callback. And Wizards made that choice intentionally. You stated, we tell the tales of heroes. Now, this was kind of just this isolated little clip I snagged out on one of your videos. You said that, and that is a good statement. That's an important phrase and one we should keep in mind. Yes, I am operating off of a script. That's the only way I can keep semi-focused at this point, right? Now, the three evidence I would use to disagree with would be fading his name from the books after Player's Handbook. We've discussed that Gary's name was in the 5e PHB and not in all of the book sets. Just that fading. I would say Thaco, the Gatekeeping Clown, as another piece of evidence, and the disclaimer on Drive-Thru RPG. I find that digital vandalism of the previous works. Now, where does this leave us? Okay, I think there's like 3 questions to ask. First, does playing first edition, which Gary had his hands on, and second edition, which was basically an improved first, does that honor Gary as Decado 1628 said? Yeah, sure, I think so. Does Wizards of the Coast themselves offer Honor Gary? No, I disagree with that. But does 5th edition honor Gary? Now that's a separate question. And to that, I would say it depends. It depends on the DM who's running the game and how they run the game. And I'll explain my answers. Now I split 5e and Wizards, even though they're linked there. I answer this separate. Okay, so why does playing 1st edition do it? Okay, remember that Gary took alignment so seriously that he wrote alignment languages into the game, which most of us ignored. He had alignment requirements for some classes, and he wrote a cosmology that was centered on the strife and balances between good and evil, law and chaos, the whole 9 points of alignment and the various outer planes. That was important. The struggle of good versus evil is baked into the game at that point. And your statement of we tell the tales of heroes, it fits there. It really does. On another site, DM Bluddworth once said, "My players RP characters that are embarked on dangerous adventures, fighting great evils, and in an epic heroic fantasy to help others." That's powerful words. I think that's great. And I think that should be a mission statement for a D&D game. I think that's absolutely brilliant. I think that's awesome. And I think that if you're doing what DM Bloodworth's doing, then you're honoring, the spirit of the game, Gary's legend, all that stuff. And it doesn't really matter whether you're using descending AC or ascending AC, whether you're using the core 4 classes and core 4 races, or whether you're using a bunch of additional archetypes from Tasha's. That's not quite as important as keeping that spirit of the struggle of good versus evil. As 5e progresses, and both Gary's name and the alignment system both fade from the game, 5e gets further from that mission. But if you as a DM want to run it that way, you can do it. You can make alignment matter again. And if you can do that, then your game, whether it's 1st edition, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or even some homebrew cobbled together version, then you're still in the spirit of the game and you're still with Gary's spirit. Now, it's a lot easier if you're running 1st because it's basically the exact same game. And if it's 5th, it takes a little work. And it's all on you. Now, go forth and smite evil. DM Kurt, out.